In this video, we're going to examine a third case of factoring when you have a leading coefficient that is not 1. Now, when we're factoring, think about the way that we've learned the technique so far. The first thing we learned was how to factor out a GCF. And then we looked at two scenarios. We looked at when there were two terms, which when there are two terms, we looked at applying the difference of squares technique. A squared minus b squared factors into a plus b and a minus b. And after we learned that, we examined, well, what happens if there are three terms? And when there were three terms, we examined how to factor a quadratic with a leading coefficient of 1, where b is your product and c is your sum. And so in this video, we're going to apply multiple techniques for this. Is when you're factoring, you kind of approach it in the same order that you've learned it. If we have the quadratic 2x squared minus 2x minus 24, and we're asked to factor it, the first thing we want to do is we want to look for a GCF. Every problem, every new polynomial, every new quadratic, your first factoring technique is to look for a GCF. And so if I look, what is the GCF of 2x squared, negative 2x, and negative 24? Well, they all don't have an x, so there's no variable in the GCF, but I see they are all even. So I can factor out a 2 from all three terms. So if I factor out a 2 from 2x squared, I'm left with just x squared. If I factor out a 2 from negative 2, I'm left with negative 1x, so just negative x. And a 2 from negative 24 is negative 12. And so now I applied my GCF technique. I see I have three terms inside my parentheses, and so I'm going to apply the product and sum technique for factoring a quadratic. Your product is negative 12. So you want two factors of negative 12, two numbers that multiply to give you negative 12, but they add to give you negative 1. And so when you think about what are those factors? Well, if it has a negative sum, a negative product, well, the negative product tells me one's a positive, one's a negative. And the negative sum tells me, well, the negative factor has to be larger. And so, you could make a list of your options. I mean, you could have 1 and negative 12. You could have 2 and negative 6. You could have 3 and negative 4. Well, which one of these adds up to give you negative 1? And that would be 3 and negative 4. So the numbers that I'm going to be using are 3 and negative 4 inside my factors. So you keep your GCF. You just carry it along the whole time. You just drop it down. It's just now x squared minus 12 factors into x and x to get your x squared. And then we have a positive 3 and a negative 4. So our final factored form is 2 times the quantity, x plus 3 times the quantity, x minus 4. So the purpose of this video is to show you that there are going to be quadratics or polynomials where you have to apply multiple factoring techniques. And so we need to remember first, always, no matter what the problem is, look for a GCF first. If there is not one, then we go on to our other factoring techniques.